three friends, Rachel, Max, and Emily, decided to take a weekend camping trip in the dense forest. As they pitched their tents and built a campfire, they couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Strange noises echoed throughout the night, and shadows danced across their faces in the firelight. Despite their unease, the friends laughed it off as just their imagination playing tricks on them. Little did they know the horrors of the forest were all too real and were about to turn their trip into a nightmare. The next morning, the friends woke up to find one of their tents torn to shreds. Panic set in as they realized that whatever did this was still out there. They tried to leave the forest but found that their compass and phones were not working. As they ventured deeper into the forest, they stumbled upon a mysterious and abandoned cabin. Desperate for shelter, they entered the cabin and discovered a strange symbol etched into the floor. Suddenly, the floor gave way, revealing a dark and eerie basement. The friends were overcome with fear, but they couldn't resist their curiosity. They descended the stairs, and what they found was beyond their worst nightmares. The basement was filled with grotesque ancient artifacts, and the walls were covered in strange symbols. As they gazed in horror, they heard a sinister voice whisper their names. The friends knew then that they were in grave danger, and that the horrors of the forest were only just beginning. As they tried to flee the basement, the friends found themselves trapped. The door was sealed shut, and they were surrounded by a horde of dark and twisted creatures. They were creatures unlike anything they had ever seen before, with glowing eyes and razor-sharp claws. The friends huddled together in fear as the creatures closed in on them. Suddenly, the symbols on the walls began to glow, and a strange energy filled the room. The creatures retreated, leaving the friends alone in the basement. They realized that the symbols were somehow protecting them, but for how long? Days passed, and the friends were running low on supplies. They tried to escape, but the basement was seemingly endless, and the door remained sealed. They were lost and hopeless until they heard a faint whisper that seemed to be calling out to them. The whisper grew louder until it became a scream. The scream was coming from a corner of the basement, and when they investigated, they found a locked door. They broke down the door, and what they found was beyond their wildest nightmares. A dark entity was imprisoned within the room, and it was the source of the scream. The entity promised to release them from the basement if they agreed to do its bidding. The friends had no choice but to accept the entity's offer. They were released from the basement, but they soon realized that they were not free. The entity was now controlling them, and they were forced to carry out its evil bidding. The friends had entered the forest as three, but they left as pawns of the dark entity. Forever trapped in its grasp, the friends returned to their normal lives, but they could not shake off the feeling that they were being watched. They were plagued by nightmares and visions of the entity, and they soon realized that it had not let them go. The entity was using them to carry out its sinister plans, and they were powerless to stop it. They tried to tell others about their experiences, but no one believed them. They were branded as crazy, and soon even their closest friends and family began to avoid them. As the entity grew stronger, Strange occurrences began to happen around them. People in their communities started to go missing, and strange symbols and markings started appearing everywhere. The friends knew that the entity was behind it all, and they were the only ones who could stop it. But as they tried to uncover the truth, the entity started to torment them. It would appear to them in their dreams, and they would wake up to find themselves covered in scratches and bruises. It was becoming clear that the entity was not going to let them go easily. The friends had to make a choice. They could either continue living in fear, or they could face the entity head-on and put an end to its reign of terror. They knew it would be a suicide mission, but they couldn't let the entity hurt anyone else. They returned to the forest, determined to destroy the entity and put an end to its evil once and for all. As they entered the abandoned cabin, the entity's screams filled the air, and the ground shook beneath their feet. The friends fought bravely, but the entity was too powerful. They knew that it was the end, but they were content in knowing that they had done what they could to stop the evil from spreading. The friends were never seen or heard from again, but the villagers reported that the strange occurrences had stopped and the missing people were never found. Some say that the friends had made a deal with the devil and had finally paid the price. Others say that they had become the guardians of the forest, protecting it from the evil that lies within. But one thing was certain: the forest was never the same again, and those who entered it were never the same either. Years passed, and the legend of the three friends and the evil entity in the forest spread far and wide. People whispered about the strange symbols and the mysterious disappearances, and many dared not to enter the forest. But there were those who were curious, who wanted to uncover the truth for themselves. They entered the forest, eager for adventure, but they were never seen or heard from again. One day, a young journalist named Alice heard about the legend and was determined to uncover the truth. She was a skeptic, and she didn't believe in ghosts or monsters. But as she delved deeper into the story, she started to uncover a pattern. She discovered that every few years, someone would enter the forest and disappear without a trace. She knew that she had to see the forest for herself, to experience the legend firsthand. Alice entered the forest, armed with her camera and her wits. She had heard about the strange symbols and the abandoned cabin, and she was determined to find them. As she ventured deeper into the forest, she felt a sense of unease, but she pressed on, and then she found it, the abandoned cabin. But as she approached it, she heard a sound that made her blood run cold. It was the scream of the entity, and it was coming from the basement. Alice knew that she had to leave, but she couldn't resist her curiosity. She descended the stairs, and as she reached the bottom, she was surrounded by twisted creatures. The entity appeared before her, its eyes glowing with an unholy light. Sarah was paralyzed with fear, and she knew that she was going to die. But then, something strange happened. The symbols on the wall began to glow, and the entity retreated. Sarah was left standing there, bewildered. Alice left the forest, but she was never the same again. She was haunted by the entity and its minions, and she could never shake off the feeling of being watched. She knew that she had to warn others, to tell them about the dangers that lay within the forest. She wrote a book about her experiences, and the legend of the three friends and the evil entity became famous once again. But some say that the entity still haunts the forest, waiting for its next victim. And they say that those who enter the forest are never the same again. Alice's book sparked a new wave of interest in the legend of the three friends and the evil entity. People from all over the world came to the forest, eager to experience the legend for themselves. But as they entered the forest, they soon realized that they had made a grave mistake. The entity was still there, and it was stronger than ever. As the disappearances continued, the villagers grew scared. They barricaded themselves in their homes and refused to venture into the forest. They whispered about the evil entity and how it had taken over the forest, how it was using the bodies of the missing people as its minions. The villagers prayed for a savior, someone who could destroy the entity and put an end to its reign of terror. And then, one day, a young man appeared in the village. He was a stranger, and he had a look of determination in his eyes. The villagers gathered around him, and he told them that he had come to destroy the entity. They were skeptical at first, but as they saw the strange symbols on his skin, they realized that he was the one. The young men entered the forest, and the entity appeared before him. The two battled for hours, and the young man fought with all his might. And then, with a final scream, the entity was destroyed. The forest was finally at peace, and the villagers were free from its reign of terror. The young man disappeared as quickly as he had appeared, but the villagers knew that they would never forget his bravery. They whispered about the strange symbols on his skin, and they knew that he was not of this world. They say that he was a demon, sent to destroy the evil entity, and they say that he will return when the next evil entity threatens their world. The legend of the three friends and the evil entity lives on, and those who dare to enter the forest still do so with caution. They say that the entity's minions still roam the forest, and that the entity will always find a way to return. And they say that the demon will always be there, waiting for the next evil entity to appear. And so, the legend continues, passed down from generation to generation, warning of the dangers that lie within the forest. But the legend was not over. As the years passed, strange things started happening in the forest once again. People went missing. Strange symbols appeared on the trees, and the villagers grew afraid. They whispered about the entity's return, and they prayed for the demon to return and save them. And then, one day, a young girl appeared in the village. Alice was just a child, but she had a look of determination in her eyes. The villagers gathered around her, and she told them that she had come to destroy the entity. They were skeptical at first, but as they saw the strange symbols on her skin, they realized that she was the one. The young girl entered the forest, and the entity appeared before her. But this time, it was different. The entity was stronger, and its minions were more twisted and terrifying. The young girl fought with all her might, but she was no match for the entity. And then, just as she was about to be consumed, something strange happened. The symbols on her skin began to glow, and the entity was destroyed. The villagers were amazed, and they whispered about the young girl's bravery. They say that she was the demon's successor, chosen to continue the fight against evil. And they say that she will always be there, waiting for the next evil entity to appear. And so, the young girl disappeared into the forest, ready to face whatever dangers may come her way. The villagers watched her go, wondering what the future would hold. They say that she will always be there, waiting for the next evil entity to appear. And they say that the forest will always be a place of mystery and terror, a place where legends are born and heroes are made. But there are those who believe that the story is far from over. They say that there are secrets hidden deep within the forest, secrets that hold the key to the young girl's power. They say that there is a place deep within the forest where the legends of the past and the future come together. A place where the young girl will face her greatest challenge yet, and where the story of the three friends and the evil entity will continue. And so, the legend of the forest lives on. A mystery waiting to be solved, a story waiting to be told.